Hello, Chantal Calard, lawyer for the National Citizens Inquiry for today. Our next witness is Francois Amalega. First of all, thank you. Thank you for coming here and being a witness for NCI. We'll proceed with your identification. My name is Amalega Bidondo. My first name is Francois. I will now swear you in. Mr. Amalega, do you swear to say the truth? Nothing but the truth? Yes, I affirm. Maybe some people here know you and some people don't. So we'd like to know more about you. Can you please introduce yourself? A brief introduction. Your career path and where you are now. Concerning your career path, your studies, I want to thank you for the honor to be here. It's very important. I immigrated in Canada in 2012. I received diplomas in mathematics and a diploma to be a teacher. And I studied a master's in math at the University of Montreal, an algebra master's degree, and geometric arithmetic. I started working at the college Jean de Brébeuf. I worked there for 5 years. I became permanent after 3 years. I also gave courses at UQAM School of Higher Education and University. My permanent position was being a professor in math at Jean de Brébeuf College. We're going to start in 2019 or 2020. What happened? You're a teacher? And what happened? Right now, you no longer teach. February 5th, 2021, I resigned from my school due to all the pressure. I believe the speech that there was a very evil virus and that we had to stay confined. We spoke to us of COVID. I researched it. I went to Google and did research, and then I found Professor Raoul, and I listened to him and realized that everything should be over. And I realized he was renowned in France, but I saw nothing changing here. So then I started watching the press conferences with a different eye, and I could see things, all the rules were changing continuously. And he kept saying we were building a plane while we're flying it. So they had contradictory rules all the time. So the uncertainty was an obvious proof that they were there to create confusion. So, as a professor, there were things that were not fitting with my being a professor. and we used to do exercises to help the student understand math, and so eventually he will understand when he's stuck. And so I was also teaching them the critical thinking, and none of this was going what the government was saying. And now we're in the summer of 2020. After we're in April, we're in lockdown, or you I'm still a teacher at that time, and he's working online. In in April, we started again online, and I start publishing things. At that time, my Facebook is a little restrained, and I'm meeting more and more people, and I'm sharing information about the virus. And I was doing education in that sense. Then a few facts, easily verified facts that show up, showing us that they're lying to us. The data, the statistics doesn't work. Like the summer numbers in the statistics about COVID. And in the fall, I take a picture of myself because it's becoming clear, very clear, that all the people supposed to protect us are there to destroy us. So I take a picture of myself. I put it on Facebook. Now we're in September 2020. So I'm walking around with no mask in the metro, and I'm doing civil disobedience intentionally. This time, the human resource department calls me in at the Jean Brebeuf College, and they ask me to remove my picture on my Facebook and to comply. I had put my picture on. I had my picture in all my social media postings. The only way to communicate with people was through social media during the confinement and lockdowns. So that picture, the school wanted me to remove my picture because it caused problems. And all the new rules coming out were absurd because the students were learning online, and we had a problem with evaluating the students. Every child was at home, was doing everybody was doing the exams at home alone. They would take a picture and send it to us, so you couldn't really know if the picture of the exam was completed by him. So we fought to have the students come in and do the exams in person in the school. But the students had to wait in a very small room, and you would bring them in a big room, and the test was taken there. We would test them there, and then we wondered about the COVID virus being more contagious in the small room than the big room. But all the small measures that were being taken made no sense. My colleagues were all um, complying, and they were saying Francois Legault was the problem, the premier. I was also suspended at some point for 3 days because I kept my mask under on my chin. So, so January 9, 2021, we went. We were about 20 people, and we defied the curfew at the metro, and there was a lot of police and media. And because I was there, part of the protest, and a journalist came and asked me questions, and they have an extract on the media in the footage. So they came to see me, and then the college suspended me for 2 weeks. It was on TV, in the traditional media. They asked me to back off and comply, and he said, no, it was not possible for me. It was very clear for me. It's not possible for me to backtrack. Then they told me Brebeuf, the college, had resources, and did he need help? They had me meet a biology professor, and he's a grandfather. Yeah. They wanted me to meet that professor of biology. My opposition to the sanitary measures are not going to be solved by meeting this biology professor. I had prepared my presentation. The first My first theme was to talk about the predictions that were made, and I was giving them numbers. So when we met, my union, the union was supposed to represent me and help me. But but the union president asked the biology professor to explain to me him why it was important that he complied. I had several, I had 9 points that I wanted to address with the professor. The biology professor responded, they're just problems of, the problem is, they're just little issues about probability. He says, amongst the crowd we are right now at that meeting, I'm the one who most masters math. And if I've done or understood something incorrectly, please point it out. So the union head, the biology professor, and I, they couldn't say anything. They couldn't say anything. And they ran away. At the end, he said, you tell me this, but Didier Raoul, the professor in medicine in France, and he says very differently from you. And if it was you, who would you be? Who would you believe? So he stopped and he disappeared. But I stayed for 2 weeks. I stayed. My pays went through, and he said, "If you suspended me and you're still paying me, this is interesting." Oh, they took the money back, but they continued. Okay. Now, for the moment, go back to class, change, go back to work, but remove your Facebook. So, so his Facebook feed had to be remain. We're still being posted. And some of them were public, and the director of HR calls him and tells him, "You have to put your whole Facebook private." And I told her, the ones who I had made public have to remain public. And then she scheduled another appointment, another meeting. And if they told me that if I kept it up, um, there were going to be penalties to deal with. They did not precisely say uh, fines, but they suspended me for 3 days, no pay. And as of that moment, every time I did something wrong, according to them, they penalized me more and more. But I made the choice because I understood that they had no arguments. They didn't. They didn't want me to share my opinions. We give our opinion. Not was not possible. They know they're wrong, but they want me to shut up. So they want to keep the social standing. When you die socially and you have pity on yourself, and so they didn't want to die socially. I resigned. I wanted to relay the message. You are the equivalent of prostitutes. If you're willing to sell your conscience to keep your material goods. That same day, I gave them my resignation. You should have encouraged me to have my critical thought, but you just want to listen to what the government is saying. You gave your withdrawal, but you continue to speak up and protest. And after that, what happened? What happened after the resignation? There was no teaching, and all I had to do was protest. It became my main occupation. There were several protests for many reasons. I wanted to see 10,000 people come out on the streets and protest to defy the mandates. Some people are full of anger, and you run into police, and when you become violent, the police are there. They enjoy it and they punish you. But when you're 10,000 people out on the street and you're joyful, with no violence, no anger, the police don't know how to react because everyone is peaceful. So I went to protest inside the police stations. I've gone and delivered myself to the police station. The day of love, St. Valentine's 2021, and I went to the police station in my neighborhood, and I went to tell them I want to find my love again, my freedom, which is locked up in the police station. They gave me tickets. You went to get your tickets yourself? Yes. I have over $18,000 of tickets.
C'est mon seul regret de n'avoir pas attiré sans doute là. Donc,
I'm
comme
only sorry that I didn't reach
parce que
100,000.
le problème, c'est que plus on est nombreux
The
pour
more we are,
manifester, plus ils sont incapables
the more we are in numbers
et ça
not to
c'est assez
comply.
triste parce qu'au Québec, il y a quand même des exemples. Par exemple, ils nous imposaient le masque dans les
They
manifestations
were
et quand les gens ont
imposing us a
refusé de
mask
porter, les policiers ne
during
faisaient plus
protests,
attention. Parce
and
que
at some
quand
point,
eux,
when
ils vont faire
everyone
marche sans
stopped
masque,
doing
ils vont
it,
commencer par qui?
nobody was
Les
getting
infirmières.
tickets
Je vais vous
anymore.
donner un exemple. Les infirmières ont mis à genoux Dubé et Legault
The
parce qu'elles ont
nurses,
refusé en masse de se faire vacciner et ils ont
the
compris le
nurses
visage que ça
refused to
allait
get
être.
vaccinated,
Alors la
like
désobéissance civile
vaccinated,
était
so
là.
the
Et
health
la
ministers
désobéissance civique pacifique.
had to
Parce que
listen to
dès que
them,
tu enlèves
and they had
le
to back
caractère
up
pacifique,
from the
tu donnes
mandatory
la caution
vaccines.
morale aux policiers d'agir. C'est juste ça qu'ils attendent.
So when you
Et
do
ça,
civil
les autres sont contents.
disobedience,
Mais le problème, c'est que quand c'est pacifique, ils n'ont aucune caution morale.
they
Ils
have
n'en ont pas. C'est-à-dire que quand
they
une
have no
maman
moral
de
right
80 ans,
to
avec une
come
marchette, dit à un policier que j'ai
like
sa
a little
razzia
old
chez moi,
lady
avec le sourire,
with a
alors
walker
cet homme de
in a
syndiqué,
protest.
qu'est-ce qu'il peut faire? S'il la frappe, alors il est en
She
train de
says, "I
durcir
just
une
want to go
sortie.
home."
Donc lui-même,
During a
il est
curfew,
vaincu, en fait. C'est ça
the
l'idée.
policeman
Donc moi, j'ai
has been
continué à
won over.
manifester, ça a entraîné plusieurs contraventions.
So I
Je suis
continued to
actuellement poursuivi pour ça
participate,
et
Dans le fond,
to organize protests, participate in
Monsieur le
protests,
Président,
and I
vous avez fait
have
beaucoup de
a
manifestations,
lot,
toujours de façon
a lot of
pacifique.
tickets.
absolument.
You've done a lot
Et
of protests,
toujours de façon pacifique. Et vous
always
avez
in a
pas
peaceful
suivi pour
manner.
les marches. Par contre, vous avez eu des sanctions, vous avez été
But
en
you've,
prison. Vous pouvez nous en parler?
yeah, you've had
Oui,
tickets
président,
and you've been
plusieurs fois. En
jailed.
fait, 4 fois, j'ai fait
I've
des
been there
cellules.
4 times.
Je ne peux pas compter le nombre de fois que j'ai fait des nuits dans une
Ça,
cellule.
c'est
I don't know how many nights.
Une nuit dans une cellule, je ne peux pas compter, c'est plusieurs fois. Il faut que je m'asseye pour faire le décompte. Mais la prison, même, j'ai fait 4 fois la prison.
Four
Et tout
times
ça
in
parce
jail,
que j'ai fait 7 jours en prison parce que je
7 days
refusais de
in
porter le
jail,
masque à la cour municipale.
because I
La
refused to
seule
wear the
raison,
mask
c'est-à-dire j'étais entré
in
à la cour
municipal
municipale
court.
pour un procès que
I
j'avais.
entered,
Ils
I
m'avaient
had a court
refusé de
case,
porter le
and
masque. Parce que
I
pour moi,
did not
c'était clair que
want to wear the
l'homme
mask
vivait pour une question de lié au masque. Donc, pour qu'il y ait une chance que le jugement soit
because the
équitable,
whole court
il
case
fallait
was
que le
based
juge
on
me donne au
my
moins
not wearing a mask.
l'autorisation de suivre mon procès sans masque. Si c'était impossible que je suive mon procès sans masque,
So
alors j'étais déjà condamné.
if I couldn't attend my own court case without wearing a mask for a ticket about not wearing a mask, I felt I would have lost the whole purpose.
J'ai fait 3 mois, 3 semaines en prison.
I did
Pour
3 months,
cette
3 months, over
Non,
three
ça c'est
months
l'autre.
in
Ici,
prison.
j'ai fait 4 fois la prison. La
The se-
4e fois, c'était 3 mois, 3 semaines.
the fourth
Et
time,
cette
it
fois-là,
was
c'est parce
3 months,
qu'on
three
il m'avait
weeks,
donné une condition de ne pas être à 300 mètres du Premier ministre.
because
Et
I had
cette
received
fois,
the
j'ai vu
condition
le Premier
um,
ministre devait aller à
that I was not allowed to be
la
within
porte de
300
manifestation
feet
parce qu'il devait
of
passer par là.
Premier
Et
Legault,
les policiers m'ont arrêté en disant que je n'ai pas respecté ma condition.
and
Ils m'ont mis en prison et ils ont
he
cru que je
happened to
vais
show
sortir
up.
après
I
avec
didn't
d'autres
know,
conditions
and the
bizarres.
cops
Alors à ce moment-là,
came
je leur ai
and
expliqué
arrested
parce
me
que
and brought me
si ils estiment
to
que je suis
jail.
criminel, ils me gardent en prison.
And he
Sinon, ils
said
me libèrent sans condition. Donc c'est comme ça qu'en refusant les conditions, j'ai fait tout cet
when
enchaînement-là.
they
Chaque fois,
were
j'étais libéré et sans
offering me
condition.
vous avez
conditions,
été libéré
lots of conditions
le 9
to be
mai
freed,
2022.
Oui,
and I didn't want to have any
le 16 janvier 2022,
breach of conditions.
Libéré
So
ou acquitté?
J'avais 4
I
procès.
spent 3 months
J'ai eu 2
over
procès en
over
prison.
3 months in
Les
jail.
2 procès, je les ai gagnés.
Donc, gagné, on parle acquittement.
Acquitté, oui.
Ok.
Mais les
I
2
had
autres procès, je les ai eus
I had
le
2
verdict
court
est donné
trials
après
that
ma
I
sortie de
won.
prison. Et
Quel a été le verdict?
oui, et c'est ça qui montre l'aspect politique parce que les 2 procès que j'ai eus avant, pour lesquels j'ai été acquitté, ils étaient beaucoup plus délicats que les 2 autres qui étaient très faciles, c'était très facile de démontrer. Mais sauf que quand je suis sorti de prison, j'ai eu des entrevues avec
When I came out of jail, I had several interviews
influenceurs
with
où j'ai dit que
influencers
les procès, j'avais raison.
where I
Et
said
moi,
I
je peux
won
donner une
because I
leçon
was
pour
right.
perdre les 2 autres procès.
So the
Parce que
2
dans un des
other
procès, j'avais 4
court
causes et
court cases,
j'ai été acquitté 1 fois et 1, j'étais condamné.
they seemed to
Et
toughen
au
up
dernier procès, ils m'ont aussi
the
condamné
rules
en me
or the
donnant
penalties.
des probations.
Ok,
I had
y a-t-il des
probations.
condamnations, autres que des
Non, non.
probations? Puis les probations,
Pour l'instant, c'est
For the moment,
les probations.
all I have are
probation de quoi? De
probation.
Il faut garder la paix, il faut
I have
ne pas troubler l'ordre public.
keep the peace,
Oui,
don't
c'était
trouble,
généralement les probations qui me donnaient
Ok.
et
don't cause
pour la
trouble.
plupart de ces procès. Mais j'aimerais
For
quand même dire,
most of
quand
the
j'étais en prison,
most of the
c'était
court cases were
comment
about
je
that.
n'avais pas
Oui,
toujours
c'est vrai.
accès à tous les privilèges des autres prisonniers.
I
Par
did not
exemple, la
always
prison,
have the
la
access
sécurité n'est pas bonne et tout.
equal to the
J'ai
other
fait,
prisoners while I was jailed.
par exemple, il y a une cantine que tu peux
There's a
commander.
canteen
Et
there
moi,
and
je
you can
commandais la
order.
cantine, ça me venait. Mes cantines ont commencé à venir vers la fin. J'avais le
I
même habit
I
pendant
ordered
peut-être
and I would receive my stuff
40 jours. J'avais le même habit
closer to when I was coming
et le
out
même
than at the
vêtement.
beginning, even
Regardez tout
though
le
I
corps
had
brodé.
ordered at
C'était
the
des
same time as
conditions
everyone else. These were
vraiment humiliantes.
humiliating
Obligatoire, diriez-vous,
conditions
Oui,
par
il y a,
rapport aux autres.
il y a par
compared
exemple un
to
jour
other
où,
prisoners.
parce que ce qui se passe, c'est que les prisonniers cachent la drogue, ils cachent les armes, ils cachent les
Prisoners
téléphones, ils font,
hide
il y a beaucoup de
arms,
trafic qui se
drugs,
passe en prison.
all kinds
Et
of
pour
stuff.
attraper les prisonniers, ce qu'ils font, c'est que parfois ils font des descentes inopinées.
So
Il y a
sometimes they
il y
have
a les
like
cellules et il y a l'espace commun. Donc quand on est dans l'espace commun, ils arrivent comme ça et ils choisissent
they
4
do
ou
a
5 cellules et ils font des fouilles. Et c'est des fouilles
they
inopinées comme
sometimes
ça qu'il y
create
a
a
vraiment
raid
beaucoup de
inside
gens.
the
Et il
prison
y a
where
un
they go
jour, ils
and
sont entrés en
look
prison.
inside 4 or 5
Celui-là,
cells
je jouais aux échecs avec. Non, je
and
regardais un match d'échecs. C'est l'une des choses
and
positives que j'ai appris. Mon niveau d'échecs a beaucoup évolué. Donc, donc ce jour-là, je
I was
regardais un
playing
match d'échecs
I
et ils
was
sont venus, ils ont
watching a
fait des
chess
fouilles
game
et
and
ils
they
sont
came.
entrés dans une seule cellule.
They went into
Une seule cellule.
one
Et quand
cell.
ils entraient même dans la cellule, il y a un prisonnier là qui a dit, mais ils entrent dans la cellule du complotiste. Pourquoi?
Oh, they
Je
said,
lui ai dit, c'est
why are they
bizarre.
going into
Donc,
the
ils sont
cell
entrés dans
of
ma
the
cellule, juste ma
conspiracy
cellule, ils ont
theorists?
mis tout sens dessus-dessous.
They turned
Et
everything
puis,
inside
ils ont
out
tout fouillé.
and
Juste
they
ma cellule, ils n'ont
looked
aucune autre.
through
Comment?
everything. They didn't
Très merci.
raid any other
Oui,
cell.
parce que c'est vraiment difficile. Vous
How
avez
did
des
you get
gens,
through it? You were in jail.
vous avez
This is very
déjà un
difficult.
traitement défavorable. Et là, en plus, on politique votre. Comment vous avez fait pour passer à travers
Yeah,
ça?
how'd you get through that?
C'est une grosse souffrance, mais le problème,
It's
c'est
a
que
it's it's a
il savait que
deep hurt.
j'étais exposé à
I know I was
tout ce
being
coup.
exposed to
Et
all
le
these
problème, c'est qu'il ne
tricks,
faut pas leur donner la chance
and I
de
didn't
penser
want to
qu'ils
give
gagnent
them
parce qu'inégalement, il n'y a
the
rien.
chance to
Parce que
think
ce
they
qu'ils
were
sont en train
winning.
de faire, ils sont en train de s'exposer. Et je profite pour dire que, par exemple,
I
je
want
viens
to
de
take this
recevoir
moment to
au
say
début du mois
at the
une
beginning of
lettre
the
d'un
month
huissier pour les
a letter
90 000 dollars que je dois parce que j'ai déjà été condamné
a
pour
letter from a bailiff
121
for the
dollars. Vous allez me dire
$98,000 that
qu'on a
I
fait
owe.
817 heures de travaux
So
communautaires et dans le cas contraire, ils vont m'emprisonner.
so
Que vous allez faire?
I have
Non,
to
non,
give them either
moi, je ne vais
177
pas les
community
aider
hours
avec leur
or they will
criminalité.
put me back
Parce qu'il faut qu'on
in
sache que
jail.
le 12 mai 2023, aujourd'hui, le
May
gouvernement du
12th,
Québec est en train de
2023,
poursuivre des gens pour non-respect des mesures sanitaires. Donc, ce
the
n'est pas
government of Quebec
parce que là, maintenant,
is
il y a une
chasing people
possibilité
who
d'arrestation.
have
Et pas
not
seulement, il y a deux
respected
personnes qui ont,
the
par exemple, pris
government
le
COVID
changement de
policy for
traitement. Je ne les
Quebec.
condamne pas. Les gens sont dans différentes situations. Mais le gouvernement est en train de
People are in
percevoir de
different
l'argent, c'est-à-dire il y a des gens qui ont été
are
donnés
in
50
different
dollars pour voir tout
situations,
ça.
and the government
Donc,
is
ça signifie
wanting
que
that money.
le Covid-19 n'est pas fini.
So
Parce qu'ils
COVID-19 is not
n'ont donc
finished.
pas pris le recul avec ça. Et moi, j'ai hâte de voir le juge qui va signer mon acte d'arrestation. Pour moi, parce
They
que
did not
le juge qui va
step
signer
back
l'acte
and look at this.
d'arrestation
He says,
est
I
en
can't
train
wait
de
to
me
look
condamner
at the judge who
définitivement.
will
Parce que moi, j'ai fait
sign my
référence
arrest
à
warrant.
des gens qui, dans la confusion, ont posé des actes en 2020 et même en 2025. Mais le juge qui, en 2023,
He says, I'm willing to forgive those in 2020.
bien sûr, je vais me livrer pacifiquement.
And the judge who signs my arrest warrant, the Quebec should remember, wrote in his names, writes his name, and is identified as one of the greatest criminal of all times. He says, I was not driving at 120 kilometers and hit a pregnant lady. He's going to sign my arrest warrant because I didn't wear a mask, because I didn't listen to the curfew in 2023. That judge would be saying the government was right to do what he did. Even those who are paying for the $10 and $20 fines, the fact to refuse
commettre un crime. Ils sont
continue to
définitivement en train de
commit the same
trembler et ils
crime.
ne regrettent pas ce qu'ils font.
So they're
Donc moi,
absolutely
je suis en
proving
train
they
d'attendre
regret nothing.
impatiemment mon acte d'arrestation.
So I am
Et la
impatiently
première chose
waiting
que je
for
voudrais
my
faire, c'est que je
arrest
voudrais
warrant.
voir le nom de ce
And the
juge-là.
first thing I
Parce
want
que
to
pour
look at
moi,
is the name of
le
that
go est
judge.
clair que le go est condamné. Mais ce
Loga is
juge-là
definitely
est en train d'écrire son nom
condemned,
parmi les coupables.
but the judge will
Donc, c'est
also
très
be
important qu'il sache ça.
one of
Et
the
je crois
condemned,
qu'avant de
and
voir
he'll
son
be
prénom
guilty.
désigné, il devrait trembler et reculer.
And
Parce
that
que
judge
c'est pas
should
Amalega François
shake
qu'il est en train de
and
persécuter. Je
walk
dis par
back
exemple parce
and
qu'il
step
y a
back
par
from that.
exemple
I'm not saying you should be afraid of me,
procès du professeur Patrick Provost, qui pour moi, c'est
not like
un
the
procès
court
de Patrick
case.
Provost et le
It's
professeur contre la science. C'est-à-dire
at
que quelqu'un n'a
the
pas
court case
besoin
against
de
Patrick
dire
Provost, who's a
qu'il
professor
ne
of
faut pas dire
science.
exactitude, mais la discussion doit exister. C'est-à-dire que
There,
c'est dans la confrontation
in
que l'intelligence collective crée quelque chose
it's with
qu'aucun
debate
de nous n'aurait fait.
that
Mais refuser
we
ça,
get
c'est pour ça que
collective
celui qui va
intelligence.
signer mon acte d'arrestation
The one who
sera
signs
celui
my
qui l'approuve cela.
warrant
Et moi, je
for
pense
my
que si
arrest,
on impose à un
he will be
juge
saying
de
that
signer
he
mon acte
agrees with this.
d'arrestation, s'il pense
If
qu'il
he
faut
thinks
avoir un débat sur le Covid,
if
je ne
that
dis
there
même
should
pas
be a
s'il
debate
pense
on
que
the
j'ai
COVID,
raison. Non.
yeah, and not even if I'm right or
S'il
not.
pense que
If
rendu
he
en
thinks
2023, on devrait
in
prendre un
2023
peu de recul
we should
et
step back
observer ce qu'il y a.
and watch
Si
what's
on met
going
une
on
pression à un juge, je crois qu'il devrait
and
démissionner.
debate,
Donc, si un juge signe
and
mon
if we
acte
put pressure on the
d'arrestation,
judge,
il faut qu'il
he
sache
should
qu'il n'a
resign.
aucune excuse. Nous allons lui pardonner dans nos cœurs, mais nous allons nous assurer qu'il soit jugé
We
à
will make sure that
l'intérieur
this
de la cité qu'il
judge
aura fait. Parce que ça sera
gets
très grave ce qu'il fera.
gets
Tout à fait.
has
Tu sais,
is being held
euh,
accountable at some
en
point.
vous entendant, pas
But
beaucoup de gens comme ça qui vont jusqu'au bout des choses.
listening to you, very few people
Vous
go
avez
to the end of
traité,
things. You're a man with principles,
traité de tous les noms.
and we've
Vous
called you
avez la
every
chance
name.
aujourd'hui
You have
de leur répondre.
you have a chance to
Vous avez
respond to
fait
them today,
en bonne partie.
and you have responded
Euh,
to a big
mais il
degree.
y a une question.
But there is a
Qu'est-ce que vous
question:
dites à ceux
what do you say to those
qui vous ont traité de complotistes?
of all those who treated us conspiracy theorists? What do we tell them now in May
Je pense que
2023?
si un homme refuse que sa femme regarde son téléphone, un homme refuse
See, a man refuses that a woman looks at his phone,
faisant des gestes un peu bizarres et tout,
and if
et
she
ensuite il ne veut donner aucune explication à sa femme.
and he doesn't want to explain anything to his wife, he just tells her she's crazy, she has no business looking at his phones,
Qui lui apparaît sur le visage que ça ne va pas.
and
Je pense que
she
ça,
can
c'est
see in
une
his
personne qui
face.
est en train d'éviter la confrontation parce que c'est qu'il a tort. C'est
He's
exactement la
this is a
situation
person
aujourd'hui.
who's just
Il y
avoiding
a
confrontation
tellement
because he
d'éléments.
knows he's
Et
wrong.
moi, je le dis, le Covid-19, c'est une question médicale, mais
COVID-19 is a
je
medical
lance un
story.
hate. C'est-à-dire que tu vois un article qui sort dans le plus grand journal du monde qui dit que l'hydroxychloroquine ne soigne pas pour discréditer Raoult et tous les gens qui sont avec lui. Mais après, on
There's
se
the
rend compte
Lancet
que
publishes an
ces photos
article
sont fausses
ab-
et les gens se rétractent. Et on se
about
rend compte que
hydrochloroquine and how it isn't good,
les ressources
and then they come back
médicales
and they
sont fausses.
retract it,
Et le Lancet écrit après
and the Lancet
qu'ils ont
writes
fait une erreur.
they made a
Je n'ai
mistake.
pas besoin d'être médecin pour
I
voir
don't need
que
to be a
c'est un
doctor.
article commandité. Je
That
n'ai pas
is, this
besoin
is
de lire
sponsored.
l'erreur pour voir que quelqu'un comme Ferguson qui encourageait le respect des mesures sanitaires,
I don't
son
need to see
article a été
anybody
faux. Et on se rend compte que
backing
pendant
up
les
the
mesures sanitaires,
COVID
il
policies.
a commis l'adultère 2 fois avec une femme mariée, ne respectant pas les mesures sanitaires. Je veux dire, quand tu vois ça, tu te dis, ces gens n'y croient pas, ils disent du n'importe quoi.
These
Donc,
people say
quand on
anything,
rassemble toutes ces preuves-là pour dire que
and
les
there are a lot of
sanitaires ne
facts.
sont
There's a
complètes,
lot of
pourquoi il n'y a
proof
pas de
that can be
vérité? Et
gathered.
qu'après, on me dit que
There's no
il est
truth in
complotiste.
in any of it, and you
Dès
can
que vous
gather these
refusez
proof.
un débat, une
And
discussion,
as
c'est
soon
que
as
vous créez de
you
l'opacité
say
dans le
no
sujet.
to
Mais c'est
you
clair
say
que
no
vous
to
donnez à
debate,
d'autres.
the subject
Donc,
is
parmi
opaque.
nous qui contestons les mesures,
Those of
il y a
us
certains
who are
sont modérés,
contesting,
d'autres sont un peu moins modérés, d'autres
some are
encore moins. Mais
moderate,
tout
some
ça
are
arrive à cause de l'opacité.
not so
Donc, si
moderate, and
quelqu'un
it's all
croit à des
happening
choses comme
because it's
celle-là, il
opaque.
est beaucoup plus excusable que le gouvernement qui rend les choses opaques. Donc, non, je pense que le mot complotiste, c'est juste un mot créé par des personnes faibles pour discréditer ces gens qui
Conspiracy
sont
theory is
soi-disant
just a
comploteurs.
word created by
Absolument, c'est
weak
l'argument de
people.
faible. En fait, c'est eux qui sont faibles.
It's
Nous, nous
those
sommes beaucoup plus forts que
they
ça parce
are
que nous sommes
weak.
dans la
We
vérité.
are a lot stronger because we are in the truth.
Un enfant de 5 ans peut être tremblé parce que tu te demandes est-ce qu'il a vu ce que j'ai fait. Donc, c'est la situation où nous sommes actuellement là. Ils peuvent avoir tout ce qu'ils
They can have all the arms. They don't have very many arms. We, they see we don't respond to intimidation in the fight for justice. You cannot be moderate. It's with microaggressions that they keep winning. I think I should have been even more vocal since September. I was publishing a little bit with Facebook, but when we don't allow microaggressions and we stop things really early, we we fix problems.
Merci. Merci.
Thank you.
Écoutez, je suis peut-être comme plusieurs autres, j'écoute avec attention et
I'm like any other. I'm listening with a lot of
vos
attention.
paroles
Your
portent
words
une vérité, une authenticité
carry truth and
qu'on voit très rarement chez les gens.
authenticity that we see rarely in people.
Peut-être nos commissaires qui auront
Maybe our
des questions.
commissioners may have some questions. Thank you for your testimony. My question, where do you get this inner strength? Is it because of your culture, of your career path? What gives you this courage to express with such firm conviction and goodwill? My faith in God and the fact that I've been exposed to. I was the counter truth, the opposite. I've seen things that were lies, and I've heard many times the world was coming to an end. And September 11th, it was still cleared for me what we were being told was not true. And then I remember at Brébeuf College, I asked my colleague, why is there a pyramid? Why is there a pyramid with a little missing piece and an eye on it? Why is that on the dollar? How can you explain that? All these things that have no explanation. And some people are told there are bad questions. When I go in a class as teacher, I tell my students there are no bad questions. So when I hope the student, when he leaves the class, he will, I can say he can see what is real because he can justify it because I questioned it. So many things were being said and were not true. And the second thing is I believe in God. Human authority is important. I think it's a gift given by God. Their authority is owned by God. This is something very important. Thank you.
Merci encore au nom de la commission.
Pardonnez-moi, je dois demander mon question en anglais. Miss Dr. Massey will translate. You spoke about your time in jail and how you were treated differently from the other inmates. And I'm just wondering if you know what crimes those other inmates would have been in for. What types of crimes?
Oui, je vais d'abord traduire pour l'assistant. Donc, la question, c'est que vous avez passé en prison et que, selon votre témoignage, vous avez été traité de manière différente des autres prisonniers qui étaient là. Et la question de savoir quel genre de crimes les autres prisonniers
in Bordeaux jail, where I was there 3 months.
Il y a des prisonniers qui ont reçu des peines de 2 ans moins un jour.
There are prisoners there that have a penalty of 2 years minus 1 day. Most of them, many of them are conjugal violence perpetrators. And then there's another section for people who have sentences over 2 years, and there I've met murderers. I met a man who was very big because he hit someone who was in a coma. He was a very violent man. There's several people who have committed horrible crimes in there, selling drugs, and they're all there in jail. And you have to be with them because you refuse to comply. I think the government have committed crimes, and we want to turn the page. But if we do that, if we did that, it will allow them to commit more evil in the future. This is why I believe the commission like this one is super important, and things have to be
Thank
said
you.
clearly.
Merci.
Thank you for your testimony. I'm just wondering if you think that there's a spiritual climate change that needs to be addressed in this country. Thank you for your testimony. I'm just wondering if you think there's a spiritual climate change that needs to be addressed in this country.
Honestly, I believe that creating a strictly material world where people have no home, this is maintained. When I first arrived in Quebec, we don't speak. When I first got here, politics and religion were forbidden subjects, but these are the most important topics that you should talk. Yeah, even when someone says they are non-believers, that is still still a very important subject. The rest are funny, light, entertaining topics, and now the government is taking the place of God. After the government, there is nothing. Without it, it's not good if one religion dominates, but to withdraw religion from public common grounds is not a good idea. It creates people. All of the hope is based in material, and they're ready to do anything to keep that because they no longer have any hope. Something important.
Thank you, Mercy.
Francois Amalega, sincèrement, du fond du cœur, merci.
Sincerely, deeply, heartfelt, thank you. Your testimony touched more than one. We understand it's a spiritual struggle. I wouldn't say you are fighting, but you stand solid on your convictions. And the truth will come. I will tell you, continue. Just continue. you gave us hope today. Thank you.